The latest intel on the Jazz, especially Walker Kessler. Let's talk about it. It's the Hoops Nerd Show. Okay, guys, like always, like the video, subscribe to the channel if you're new here. Also, today, I want to give a big shout out to Holly Hardy on Twitter. Great follow. Go follow her with some great slop finds today with some of this intel out there with Walker Kessler and the Utah Jazz. So, shout out to Holly. She's a great follow. Thank you, Holly, for tweeting. Anyways, one of the things that is out there right now for the Utah Jazz is some issues with Walker Kessler. We're seeing some news from Jake Fisher that LeBron James is a potential I think it was Jake Fisher. I don't think this is the most surprising thing, but LeBron James is a legit target for the Golden State Warriors and Anthony Davis. Now, if those things are able to happen, we'll see. And sometimes you wonder if teams are going to actually just tell everyone this is who we want, then it immediately takes their leverage away. So we'll see if something like that happens. But something like that may happen, and other people have mentioned that possibility. Bill Simmons talks about LeBron James going to Golden State as if it's a done deal. It may be just something that's in the works and they just have to finalize some things. Who knows? A lot of the time, that's how these things work. The problem for Utah is if LeBron James goes to the Golden State Warriors, that opens up a ton of cap space for the Los Angeles Lakers. And we know that the Lakers are very interested in Walker Kessler. So, from Holly, who caught this from a Sarah Todd interview with Spence Checketts, who does a great job on local radio here. It sounds like the Walker Kessler trade may be here soon. They're working through the deals. And we've talked about it on this channel and on SLC Dunk, that the big thing and the rumor and the issue out there right now, apparently, is the years. That Walker Kessler does not want 5 years. He may want more. Now, there's an issue out there, too. I can't remember who talked about it. Sorry. But there's a world where the Lakers send a 2-year plus 1-year player option to Walker Kessler. That's astronomical. That's crazy. But they get it for 2 years. And then on the player option, Walker Kessler could turn it down and then just re-sign with whoever because he'd be an unrestricted free agent. That's the worst case scenario for the Utah Jazz because it would allow Walker Kessler to go somewhere else in a shorter amount of time. And if they give him like LeBron James level numbers, $50 million for, like, what if they give him $100 million for 2 seasons and then a third year for $50 million, a player option that he can either take or just turn down, and then goes to the Lakers after 2 years? You only get 2 years of Walker Kessler, and it just absolutely maxes out your cap space. Now, Utah's going to be pretty much maxed out with their cap space anyway with the Jaren Jackson Jr. trade, but this would put them in apron territory that they probably don't want to be. And especially when Keontae George has a contract going up, you can see how the numbers get astronomical really fast. The other element of a trade of a contract that big that makes it difficult for the Jazz is that a 50-something million dollar contract is hard to trade. Like, if Utah matches that, and they probably would have to, they couldn't just trade Walker Kessler because you have to match the salaries. And no one out there making $50+ million a year is going to be equivalent of Walker Kessler to the Jazz, because most players making $50+ million are all-star or better players. And Walker Kessler is not an all-star and most likely will not be an all-star. That's why Utah's offering him in the $30 million range. So that's why an offer like that from the Lakers would 100% make the Jazz pause, right? And the Jazz have told him, go out and get an offer. If the Lakers went crazy and gave him just an extremely irresponsible offer of like $200 million for 4 years, Utah might not match that. right? That was always the issue when they didn't get the thing done before. Now, these are types of numbers that maybe Walker Kessler was asking, and that's maybe why Utah didn't ask for it. Utah's doing the right thing until it doesn't work out. Now, I think it's going to work out, and that's why this news from Sarah Todd is pretty good to hear, that Utah and Walker Kessler are working things out. We'll find out if Walker Kessler's posts on Instagram actually are true or have value very soon. It may all be much ado about nothing, but this is the bad side of things. This is the potential worst case scenario. Who knows? And the thing is that the Walker Kessler camp may want this to happen, and that obviously they would. If the goal is to make as much money as possible and go to LA, who, by the way, that's where their agency is centered, it makes sense that something like that could happen. So, scary stuff. And the other thing that Holly did a great job is noting that Sarah Todd mentioned that the Nurkic discussions are not going great for Utah because apparently Nurkic is getting some pretty rich offers outside of Utah. Nurkic was a good player for the Jazz, but you do not want to overpay him. He was paid too much on the contract he had anyway. And he's also getting older. The issue with Nurkic is, and what Nurkic kind of did for the Jazz last season, is Utah, one of their biggest holes in the roster, besides just waiting to fill that with Darren Peterson, but is they just did not have a ton of ball handling and playmaking. Lauri Markkanen, we learned, is just not a playmaker. He's not. He can't do it. Jaren Jackson Jr. is not a playmaker. Walker Kessler, not a playmaker. And, Keontae George improved immensely and I think is an underrated playmaker, but he was the only one, right? And then outside of Keontae George, you had just Isaiah Collier, who can't shoot threes. And so you could see where the issues were with the team. It was just a broken system because there just wasn't enough playmaking on the floor. That's why Will Hardy, who's a great offensive coach, would put Nurkic at the top of the key, and then that's like your secondary playmaker. So you have Keontae George running the show, but when he gets double-teamed, you can throw the ball at the top of the key to Nurkic, and he was a great passer off the three-point line. It's why he had 3 triple-doubles. He passed the ball great, he would hit threes, and he rebounded. So he kind of did a lot of everything for Utah and filled that hole for the roster that they needed. Now, with Keontae George and Darren Peterson on the roster, they have two playmakers. We'll see elite. I mean, I think Keontae George has a chance to be elite this year. By the way, don't forget the first 2 weeks of the season last year averaged just under 10 assists. Was top 3 in assists the first 2 weeks of the season. And Utah put a stop to that right quick because they needed to lose some games, and we're all glad they did because Darren Peterson is on the Jazz now. And so Utah has Keontae George, Darren Peterson. The playmaking is there now. So it makes Nurkic not as valuable for Utah. He becomes more, a lot of that skill set is not as necessary. Utah gets by with a player like Walker Kessler because they don't have a need for more playmaking on the floor. Now with Darren Peterson and Keontae George on the floor, it really allows Utah to do whatever they want on offense. So we'll see. And, I think that's part of, I don't know. I haven't talked to anyone on the Jazz, but I imagine that's what the Jazz are thinking because, a lot of times, and it's one of the reasons I love Will Hardy, is he will adjust his offense to fit the needs of the team or the strengths of the team. But last year there were a lot more needs, than strengths because Utah was trying to lose games and was not playing their best players. And that need was playmaking. That's what made Nurkic so valuable. This year, they got the playmaking, and so it's going to be fun to see what the Jazz offense does. It's actually going to be really interesting to see how it evolves because Will Hardy's going to adjust things to Darren Peterson and Keontae George's strength. And honestly, their strength is just having the ball in their hands and destroying defenses and ruining worlds and making children cry from opposing fan bases. That's what they do. That's the strength of them. So really great stuff. All right, guys, I think that is all. There are some other things. Apparently, according to Jake Fisher, the Jazz have not been really in any sort of trade discussions, but that probably makes a little bit of sense if they're trying to figure out the Walker Kessler contract. Now, I saw something from Jake Fisher tonight, most recently. The Los Angeles Clippers are interested in Goga Bitadze on the Orlando Magic. Now, Goga Bitadze, you may not think is that big of a deal. Well, for all the stat nerds out there, the guys that go and check the analytics and don't watch the actual games, they're a big fan of him, right? Box Score Brigade loves Goga Bitadze. Having watched him, I like him as well. And it is true. If you go search like defensive war and things like that, defensive LeBron and all these things, Goga Bitadze is at the top. Now, it doesn't mean he's the best defensive player in the NBA because he would play backup on the Orlando Magic. He would be perfect for Utah. If you have Walker Kessler starting and then Bitadze off the bench, you have yourself 48 minutes of great defensive play at the center spot, right? And then you don't have to do things where you're forcing Jaren Jackson Jr. as your backup center and being a little bit low on that end. And we know from Austin Ainge that he talked about center and backup center was the biggest need. Center right now is everything for Utah. It's Walker Kessler, and they need a backup. They don't got one. They don't have Kevin Love on contract. They don't have Nurkic on contract right now. They don't even have Walker Kessler on contract, right? The Jazz don't have a center on the roster. And if you think Jaren Jackson Jr. is a center, he's not. He is not. His strength is playing off of a center. He becomes a superhero when he does, but you need a center for him. That's why Walker Kessler is really important. It's why Utah's going to pay $30 million for him. But then what would be really effective for Utah is to have Goga Bitadze off the bench playing behind Walker Kessler or someone like Goga Bitadze. I think he's an underrated player in the league and probably deserves a lot more shine than he does. He also plays with a lot of piss and vinegar. I love that guy. He is a tough guy that doesn't put up with garbage and he will throw an elbow, right? That type of player. So I love those types of guys. Utah needs toughness on this team, and he would bring that. So, guys, those are all the latest rumors and things. I am not going to be at home the next 2 days. I'm going to be out camping. I will not have access to my phone, so watch that be when the Walker Kessler thing happens. But you can follow SLC Dunk. The writers there got me covered. And I won't be able to do a video the next 2 nights. 100% I want to do one on Wednesday. We will talk about whatever is going on, or we'll just talk Jazz basketball, whatever that may be. Guys, like the video, subscribe to the channel. Shout out to the members and the All-Stars, especially our new guy, Bruce. Guys, let me know, what's the Bruce nickname in the comments? We got to give it to Bruce. Thank you, Bruce, for joining. Thank you, all of you. I will talk to you in like 3 days.